Hello, welcome to Far Beyond. I want to apologize for a video that I put up on YouTube the other day. It was titled, January 6th Will Be Glorious. It seems we forgot a part of the video in the beginning. It got lost. We found the lost part and glued it together. And the video is now back up on YouTube with a note on it that says revision. That's because my friend David, who is Mr. Gizmo and knows how to pull all the levers and push the buttons to put everything together, well, he's kind of fraught with technical difficulties. You see, he's driving from the West Coast over to D.C. on January 6th. So while we were trying to upload and glue things together, he would go through the mountains and we would lose connection, and then he would go through a part of the highway that apparently we would lose connection. So it's amazing that we did get it up, and the revision is now been put up early this morning on YouTube. We're also on Rumble and on Brighteon. Okay, everything seems to have come down to Pence. On January 6th, he counts the electoral votes. Will he accept the votes from states where there is evidence of massive election, FRAUD, giving the election to Biden, or will he, as he should, discount any fraudulent or contested results? Pence, as VP, has had extensive intel briefings on election FRAUD and foreign government interference that members of Congress have not. So he knows very well. Remember, the key team word, I call that military back channel, the key team. Remember that word they would often point out, knowingly? Well, if he accepts the electoral votes where the laws have been violated, he is taking part in the FRAUD and the subsequent overthrow of the U.S. government by illegitimate election and handing our nation into the hands of a man controlled by foreign enemies. In other words, he would be taking part in a coup. Remember, Pence has had more detailed info on these matters than anyone else involved in this process. So, what's the problem? Pence is our Republican vice president, right? Well, you think there wouldn't be a problem, but let's look at some of the strange events in December. On December 17th, Pence announced a trip to Israel. Well, Louis Gohmert, and the Israeli Times called it a farewell trip to Israel. Strange word. So Louis Gohmert got into a debate with Pence and his lawyer because apparently there are some people who think there are two ways that he could go on counting the electoral votes. One is according to the 12th Amendment, and the other is according to an electoral count law from somewhere back in the 1800s. And Louis Gohmert, who is a constitutional attorney, states that there is only one, that the old law from the 1800s needs to be challenged and thrown out because it violates the Constitution. They did not agree. So on December 22nd, Representative Louis Gohmert filed a lawsuit against Pence to have the judge affirm that it is only one way that he can count the votes, which would mean to give the pro-Trump electors in place of the ones that were elected by states that didn't follow their rules, their own laws. Anyway, Pence did not agree. So on December 31st, Pence asked a judge to dismiss the lawsuit. Now, these events, to even a casual observer, did not inspire confidence that Pence was planning to certify the election for Trump. It appears he's looking for an easy way out. Well, let's look back. Many patriots and conservatives have never trusted Pence. The movement has really been split. Half have said, I will never vote for Pence. Now, when Trump needed a VP to run with him, he had to travel 2 weekends in a row to Pence's residence and have discussions with him. It was almost as if he had to beg him. The second time, he had to take Chris Christie with him, I guess, to arm twist Mike Pence. So right there, that tells you that he didn't love our POTUS like we do. And then when the Indiana primary came up, Pence said, I'm voting for Cruz, but they're both good. No, he didn't exactly endorse one or the other, but when he said who he was voting for, it sounded like an endorsement. Well, the rumors are that after Key Team, and you know it's what I call the military back channel, began teaching Patriots and informing us of the proliferation of crimes against children, there were also what some people call rumors from 2 video creators being put out about Pence having been involved. But apparently they were just rumors. Those video creators are no longer around. That was probably in the first year to 2 years of Trump's presidency. Then at George W. Bush's funeral, another strange event. There were these notes that were given to several people at the funeral. It was quite noticeable. The cameras were on, and you watched as this person delivered these sealed notes to certain people at the funeral, about 6 or 7. Now, all of those people were people that we would consider bad actors, except that one of the notes went to Pence. That was very strange. Then we have to know by now that Pence is definitely GOP-E. He's part of the establishment. He's a globalist. Right there is quite enough to distrust him in this current situation. But it is also my personal opinion that he is a Mason. I have a lot of knowledge about Masons, not just from books, but substantial interaction with them in my church, in court, and in personal life. Yes, there are a lot of them in my church, the Catholic Church. After all, most Russian spies aren't found in the Kremlin, they're in Washington, D.C. So I had to get to know as much as possible so that I could identify their presence and tactics to hopefully decrease their effectiveness. And I think I have learned that quite well. I recommend the book by John Salza, S-A-L-Z-A, Masonry Unmasked, because it gives even the details of the rituals, since he was very high in the Masonic order and was the man responsible for writing up their rituals and the handbooks. He explains the 3 oaths that they take, and the last one he explains it and shows you that symbolically a person is rejecting their baptism. That's not good. It's done in symbols, but symbols they're always saying something. It's like sign language. So let's go back to the December events, because with those things happening, most people wouldn't have bet a nickel on Pence coming through for Trump. But anyway, let's remember that half of the conservatives think Pence is okay. In fact, a commenter recently said, what did I miss? I mean, what's wrong with Pence? I thought he was the nicest politician in Washington. So this requires some explanation and education. First, you might want to check a CNN YouTube video of December 11th, 2018. It's a meeting in the Oval Office with Pelosi, Schumer, Trump, and Pence. The 3 of them are very animated and almost openly angry, except you need to watch Pence. This is what Masons do, the body language signs. It was so noticeable that even the left was kind of furious with him and chastised him for the next few days about it. But it's a situation or a sign language in which they close their eyes and sit back. They're not sleeping. You can tell that they're not asleep because they have control of their muscles and they're almost, it's a form of rejection. It's his way of giving out very strong and loudly the sign language that says he's dissociating himself from what Trump is saying. And he's saying, I reject him. I do not think like him, and I am not standing with this guy, and I don't support him. It's what he's saying, because he wants to be sure that, the other people like him realize he's not really supporting Trump. Again, the past plus the December events have caused Trump and the Patriots to go on the offensive. Suddenly, Louis Gohmert has this debate with Pence and his attorney. There is no agreement. December 22nd, after they learn of the Israel trip, it was not spoken of much before Christmas. But it seems like an attempt to get Pence on record. The lawsuit was next step to force the issue, get the judge to agree, sort of corral Pence into a corner. There is only one way to keep and follow the Constitution. As the key team would say, it's game theory, moves and counter moves. Our guys, Trump and the Patriots, know, believe me, they know Pence is deep state. You don't think he got the envelope at George W. Bush's funeral by accident. They know who he is and who he is taking orders from. And he ain't for Trump getting 4 more years. Our guys get his trip to Israel canceled. The Israeli Times releases that it's a farewell trip. Hours after, he's to leave hours, mind you, after presiding over the certification of the electoral votes. Sounds to me like he's got a ticket to get out of Dodge. How do I know that our guys countered his trip to Israel? Because the Israeli Times reported, quote, the U.S. Embassy spokesperson confirmed on Wednesday, December 30th, that Pence's trip was canceled. Doesn't that sound like the State Department's involved? Who's Secretary of State? Pompeo. One day later, Pence asked the judge to dismiss Gohmert's lawsuit. This is beginning to sound like chess. January 1st enters Secretary Pompeo into the chess game. Remember, the key team now communicates in the news directly through surrogates. The new surrogate starts tweeting 30 minutes apart all day, following the lead of General Flynn, who tweets out about George Washington's speech on December 31st. That's when he asked the Continental soldiers to remain 1 more month. And actually, they all said yes, and they were not under conscription. So therefore, they were not under a contract to get paid. They volunteered to stay another month. Now, General Flynn wanted to inform us of that. You know, we had to study 3 years with the key team to learn, and he would tell us that, learn our comms. Learn them so we can communicate with you. So 30 or 1 month was the key word. And right away, Secretary Pompeo went into a tweet storm that would put Trump's to shame. Every 30 minutes, he was putting out a tweet. Now, let's see. He did, and always his tweets contained key phrases. They all started with the same way. Great team, big challenges, securing America's freedom. Many remember Pompeo as Kansas from the Key posts, and we were told by Key, trust Kansas. So I would think the message is he's letting Patriots know we are facing big challenges for the next 30 days. Don't worry, we have a great team. And he is definitely on the team fighting the threat from the deep state, presently Pence, and the date of January 6th, which is rapidly approaching. Now, there is also a famous Key post that has these lines in it. Done in 30, next line, house clean, next line, White House secure. This is also reference to that Key post. So they are cleaning the house. They're securing it from traitors. So all of this going on with Pence, this back and forth. Okay, you cancel my trip, I cancel your lawsuit. Okay. It's a game of chess. And it's what we've already been told about. So no, this is not just ordinary happenings. There's a lot going on undercurrents. Who's ever said that politics was boring? I haven't slept or ate well for the last 3 days. All right. Now, General Flynn, who is father of the Key team and head of the digital soldiers, his tweet was picked up by Pompeo. We need to learn how they're going to communicate now in the new format. You see, we're not going to be over there with the Key posts, reading them secretly by ourselves. Key would tell us he was preparing us for 6 months. We are the news now. People thought it meant we are the news. He was referring to we, the Key team, are in the news now. You're going to have to switch over to a different format. And we need to pay attention when the surrogates are speaking. They will give us some clue that will identify them as a Key surrogate. Let's see. All right. There were also a series of pictures that he tweeted out. Now, some have said that these are pictures of people he is identifying as heroes. But I'm not sure of that yet. We're just going to leave that there because one of the pictures was of Barr and another one of Gina Haspel. So I'm not sure. I might be inclined to think more he was showing us pictures of some of those that they were cleaning house. If you notice the pictures and study them well, in some of them he's smiling, in others he's not smiling. So I think that's a clue too, but we'll have to follow up on that. Now, Linwood is our number one surrogate at this time. Oh boy. He was handed over to us from Key, and he comes out on New Year's Eve, 8 minutes to midnight, and announces that Pence says he will no longer pursue a career in politics. And then gives him a jab by saying, that was a good call, because you're not good enough to be president anyway. Wow. Remember, Linwood is Key team surrogate. It's just like getting old Key posts. You're learning. Remember the Key team. He used to tell us, he explained this process that they were going to use to drain the swamp. They would bring the bad guys in and relate to them all the info and dirt that they had on them. Then explain to them what is ahead for them. But if they were to relent and promise to cooperate, then they would be given a second chance. He told us once that if everyone in the government that was corrupt was removed, 70% of the government will be gone overnight. Sad thing, huh? So you just can't remove them right away. It's an ongoing process, and it's been ongoing the whole 4 years that our Trump has been in there. Now, this is what I'm getting to. I believe that this is exactly what happened with Pence. He was cornered by Trump and the Patriots on December 31st. The reason I say that is because that's the time when President Trump canceled his New Year's Eve party and flew back to D.C. There was a big meeting in the White House. Wonder what was going on. Well, we don't need to be a little bug on the wall, because Linwood was tweeting. Remember that 1:52 p.m. tweet just before New Year's Eve struck? He was letting you know. Now, it doesn't mean that Pence said he wasn't going to pursue a career, but the Patriots were doing a little arm twisting, kind of letting him know what the score was. And you will decide to not follow through with your career. You want to go home and take up painting like George Bush or some other hobby. Yeah, they told him what they know and their future plans for him. Lynn's astonishing tweets were to soften up the target. We'll show him that we mean what we say. Look, I'm already telling the public about you. We'll put your dirty laundry right out there. And if you don't do the right thing, we'll arrest you for treason. Well, if you don't cooperate, your career is over. You'll be arrested and executed. So if you don't do the right thing, it's not going to harm us, because we'll have, who'd he say? Secretary Pompeo do it. This was on New Year's Eve. Yeah. And on New Year's Day, who started tweeting every 30 minutes after General Flynn's? You see, it's all like a net. It's all a plan, a great plan. It's not an accident. Remember, Key told us there are no coincidences. So, the New Year's tweet, he did not resign, though. That post that was put out was a rumor, okay? But the Patriots pushed him to do the right thing, or you have to get out. Pence did seem more open after that. He did put out a statement from his office on January 2nd saying that he was very open to senators objecting to electoral votes. But we'll have to see if he's more worried, or is the word scared, of the good guys or his CCP handlers. So we'll have to wait and see if the Patriots have checkmated Pence. Remember, it's just to make him do the right thing. In which case, according to the things I feel I learned from the key team posts, he would be given a second chance. Perhaps the deal was, if you do the right thing and then decide to resign because you want to take up painting, we'll understand, and you won't get arrested or executed. Well, you got to give him a break, right? I mean, if he saves the republic. Okay, we'll let you live your life because it'll be lousy anyway. And one thing that makes me believe, even though we really have to wait to January 6th to see whether Pence goes this way or that way, left or right, I think they may have checkmated him because Linwood tweeted out, after all this furious tweets of derogatory statements against Pence, he tweets out a series of pictures, and one of them is a picture of Trump playing chess with Barron. And he puts the caption under it, "Looks like our president is pleased with the good move that he made," referring to Barron, that he thought he had made a good move in chess and he was smiling. I think the message is, because chess is often used in the key team posts, is that of Trump playing chess with his son, is also Trump, the president, playing chess with Pence, the vice president. And Trump smiles because he has made a good move. I would take that to mean that he has decided to cooperate and take his life and then pack his bags and go back to Indiana. But we shall see. We shall see. Either way, he's on the retirement list. Oh well. Now, you know about that nasty conspiracy, QAnon. It was condemned by Congress, and they rejected all of his conspiracy theories. Nasty things, like silly stuff, like the world is controlled by a group of elite PEDOS. Who'd believe anything like that? Well, that's why we changed the name to Key Team. And we've moved into the news. If you recall, Key was telling us that for maybe 6 months prior. You see, they had this plan all the time. They knew that soon QAnon would be discredited. They had a plan to simply change the format. And I am trying to make sure that all patriots understand, because there's been a lot of criticism about Lynn and the things he's saying. And you have to remember to change formats. Look for a clue that that person is giving us inside information that we need. Now, let's look at this. Linwood set up a firestorm this AM. He tweeted about a tactic used to blackmail and control important people. He said it was used by at least 10 intel agencies in the world, and among them, the CCP. He said that the person has a gun put to their head and is forced to do criminal things to little children and then kill them. The videos are then kept, and this way they are controlled and take orders from their masters. Gee, where did we hear that before? It's all coming out in the open, guys. It's the only way we can be free and the only way we can save our republic. Most important, it's the only way we can heal our nation. And that's the other thing that Key promised us. One day we'll be united. The narrative will be split. It happens to families because of the media, and it's happened to our nation. We can't be together if we share two different frames of reality. But it's coming together. That's the good news. There'll be no more Dems or Republicans. everyone will be on the same page. And instead of fighting each other, we're going to join forces to fight the same enemy. And that's what Key used to tell us. When it comes to children, we'll join forces. Everyone will come together around that subject. It won't be, we hate Trump, you hate Hillary. We're going to realize we have one enemy. So 2021 will be glorious like Key promised. So have a happy new year, and thank you for listening. If you like, please hit the like button, and maybe we'll see you again.